What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with the final episode of Under the Radar. This is going to be the last episode I'm going to be doing, as starting in 2025, I'm going to be trying to do 4 reviews a week, so that way I can talk about some of these albums that I've done on Under the Radar in the past, or change up that format to where I can give more albums a full-on review. So that's going to be what's going to happen starting in 2025. So here we are with the final episode of Under the Radar. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you guys who watched this series from the very beginning back in 2022. This was a hell of a series to do, but I think it's time we maybe expand on the full-length reviews, kind of like what I did this year, going from 2 to 3. Next year we're going to 4, so it's going to be hard to choose certain albums, but we'll just have to wait. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started for the final episode of this series. And yeah, I'm talking about 3 albums that came out on October 25th. And we're going to kick it off with Black Curse, Burning in Celestial Poison. This came out on Sepulchral Voice Records, and this is the second album from this Colorado-based Blackened death metal band. And this is kind of a supergroup, if you ask me, because of the lineup in the past and the present. Featured current and former members of bands like Blood Incantation, Spectral Voice, Chemist, Ulthar, and Spirit Possession. So it's a lot of bands within the either like the Pacific Northwest or the Midwest kind of coming together. So, and of course this was Arthur Risk doing the production here. And yeah, this is just raw, nasty, evil Blackened death metal. Like huge evil vocals that feel like they're like he's in anguish. Lots of tremolo riffs. I would say kind of a good balance between high-end black metal tremolos and low-end death metal tremolos. The leads are more or less big, giant, squealy dive bombs, which certainly fits the chaos of this album. There's even some occasional gallops going on. There's little grooves, lots of triplet chugs, some doomy sections. But what's interesting, this is 5 tracks, and almost every single song is long. Well, there's 3 of them that are like more than 10 minutes long. One's like 7 and one's like 4. But yeah, these are rather long-ranging songs for a Blackened death metal album. Really, the only complaint I had about this album would be the mix. Like, I love Arthur Risk's production work. However, on this, I feel like the mix could have been a little bit better, so that way you could hear everything more coherently. And also, I do think maybe they could have trimmed the fat on a lot of these songs, like, because this is 45 minutes long. Maybe if they whittled it down to like 36 or 37 minutes, I think it would have made this album better. But overall, I still thought it was a really good album. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Nothing more, nothing less, just a really damn good raw album. But now on to the next one, and that is Burial Remains with Adversarial. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, so this is a Dutch death metal band, and this was released on Raw Skulls Records. And, well, this one and the next album, very similar to one another in terms of style and tone. As you can tell with Burial Remains, it's a badass name, and it's a Dutch band. However, they sound like they came straight out of Stockholm. Like, this is just like pure Swedish death metal worship with some autopsy and asphyx worship in there too. So it's kind of like a hybrid between like early Death Doom and Swedish death, because it's the HM2 tone. This album is thrashy, it's sinister, the tremolo harmonies and riffs are just pure disgust. It gets doomy at times. There's lots of really cool groove, blast beats, even some double time, D beats. And also what's interesting on here, the melodies, like within the lead work, they can sound really eerie. And then even one track, kind of somber, so it's like different moods for different dudes. That rhyme didn't quite work, but you get the idea. It's like it's going for a lot of different moods within the album. So, and this one's 37 minutes, so it's a fairly quick listen. And holy crap, this album and this band packs a big punch. So if you are a fan of Entomb, Dismember, Bloodbath, but also Autopsy, check this out. I am going to give this a 4 out of 5. I thought this was some great death metal that pays homage to Sweden. But speaking of Swedish death metal worship, that leads us to the next one, and that is Sentient Horror in Service of the Dead. This is the band's 4th studio full-length overall, and once again, still on Redefining Darkness. I did do the full review for their last album, Rights to Gore, and that was top 5 on my year-end list for 2022. So I was excited to hear new Sentient Horror. I almost wanted to do the full review on this, but because, you had Jotun, Devin Townsend, and Garia, I unfortunately had to make a sacrifice and put Sentient Horror here in Under the Radar. But still, just badass Swedish death metal worship from Stockholm, New Jersey. You get to the opening track, little off-time rhythm, but then it gets right into furious punky energy, but it's really thrashy. Not only are there great death metal tremolo riffs, but there's lots of thrash metal riffs going on here. And also, I would argue this album sounds a notch darker than their previous album, because the melodies that show up on here kind of add a little more darkness and sorrow at times. And it's also a little more technical. There's some more technical riffs coming in, but awesome shredding leads, blasts, tremolos, awesome chugs and breakdowns, groove, basically everything I like about Sentient Horror, but with an extra layer of darkness, thrash, and classic metal thrown in on top. So again, if you're a fan of bands like Entomb, Dismember, Bloodbath, and Grave, definitely check this out. This is fantastic, just like their last album, although not quite as strong as the last album, so I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. This is awesome death metal that I hope this band keeps just churning out consistent, fun, Swedish death metal worship. But of course, those are all just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and of course, links to the albums will be in the description box below. And like I said, this is pretty much goodbye to this series that I've been doing now for 3 years. But I think it's time we expand the album review horizons and do more, and give some of these albums a more fair shake. So, yeah, it's going to be a rough goodbye, but I was glad to have done this series for as long as I did. So, thank you guys to everybody who ever watched this series. But until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.